Let's turn our attentions to football or soccer because there are so many stories to look at right now, particularly here in Europe. In a couple of months' time, the UEFA Women's Euros will be heading to Switzerland, with England looking to defend their title. Before that, though, in Lisbon on May the 24th, Arsenal and Barcelona will compete for the 2025 Champions League title. Someone who knows what it's like to play in both competitions and to win European football's biggest club trophy is former Arsenal, Chelsea and Juventus player Lianne Sanderson. I've been catching up with her, and we began by discussing what Arsenal can expect when facing one of the best sides in Europe in that final in just a couple of weeks' time.
When you're the underdog, sometimes the pressure is on the other team. But I think the only thing that matters is getting there. Getting there, anything can happen. But I do think Barcelona are on a completely different level. And every single time Chelsea played them in the semi-final, or when they played them in the final, there's this I don't think people are educated enough as to know how good Barcelona are. And I'm not quite sure. I heard a lot of different pundits before the game against Chelsea saying Chelsea were going to win. And I'm like, have they seen this Barcelona team? They've got Alexia Putellas, Bonmati, Paraluela. Like, the list could go on. And these are players. Last 4 Ballon d'Ors have been won by those 2 players. Like, they're a top team. So I think sometimes there's a little bit of ignorance when it comes to women's England teams. They're like, I want them to go all the way, but you have to not discredit these teams like Barcelona. So I hope Arsenal can do it. I believe they can do it. They're going to have strong fan base going out there to Lisbon. I'll be there, and I'll be so emotional. If Arsenal were to win it and I was to be there, Natalie, on the sideline doing it the game, I'd be just so thrilled.
You've already sort of hinted to us how incredible this Barcelona side are. Are they the best side in Europe right now?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, without a doubt, I think every single year consistently, it's always usually a Lyon versus Barcelona final 9 times out of 10. If it wasn't Lyon, there was one year there was Chelsea, Wolfsburg previously as well were pushing not too long ago. So I don't know. I just love this Barcelona team. And I think, thing is, Natalie, when you watch them live, right? Similar to men's football, women's football, whatever. You have a true understanding for these players individually when you watch them live. You can watch them on TV and they still look amazing. But every single time I see Chelsea play against Barcelona, Barcelona seem to just always take it to another level, and Chelsea can't seem to live up to the expectation in that game. The pressure, for some reason, against Barcelona seems to get to them. I think there's a psychological edge.
Who should Arsenal be wary of then in this Barcelona team? I'm assuming most of them, but is there any particular player that you'd pick out?
Yeah, I mean, Alexia Putellas, she's been incredible. She had her ACL injury a couple of years ago and it took her a little while to kind of back, and it does happen, but she's one of the best in the world. Bonmati is the best in the world. Caroline Graham-Hansen as well. She's a fantastic player. It's almost similar to Merida Caldente when she was at Barcelona. Goes under the radar because there's Bonmati and Putellas. So therefore everyone focuses on those players. But I think Caroline Graham-Hansen, I mean, just to summarise, their centre-back takes corners, Mappy Lyon. So they are just so good, technically is the point I'm making. I've never known a centre-back to be the corner taker because they are the best technically at that action. And I just feel the thing that separates Barcelona from everybody else, they're so comfortable on the ball. The way they ping the ball into each other, they move around the pitch in triangles, and they never they play out from the back, which I'm not a big fan of always, right? But they never panic and they never turn over the ball in those areas. So I don't know, they are the best and they're the best for a reason, and I love watching them, and hopefully they have a similar performance like Lyon did against Arsenal in the final, and Arsenal can get the job done, but it's going to be difficult.
Lianne, you've played obviously in a number of leagues across the world: England, the US, Spain, Cyprus, Italy. How do you assess the strength of women's football around the world right now?
Yeah, I definitely think I really hate saying it's growing because I think that's such a cliche thing to say, because at what point do we say we've actually made it and can celebrate, where we're at? And I often have that conversation internally as well. I'm like, at what point are we just going to be like, this is amazing, all these different events that are on for the women's game. But the one thing I think I will judge the success on globally is the amount of young girls that are getting into playing. I think it's incredible. And the fact that men and boys now have Beth Mead shirts. Do you know what I mean? And Alex Morgan on the back of their shirt. That never used to happen back in the day. I was the only girl playing in an all boys team. So I love the fact that there's more girls, boys, men, demographic of the fans have changed, which I love. But I think globally, there's still a long way to go, Natalie. Like I've started off on a positive, but there is still so much to do with regards to even the attendances in the WSL, in the NWSL, and globally. Like Leon, like don't get a high attendance, and they're like second best team in the world.
And you mentioned Arsenal, they play at the Emirates, and that's now their home, which is fabulous to see. But is that something you are in favour of, that more teams get to play at the bigger stadiums that are with the men's, where the men's team tend to play too?
If they can sell out, Arsenal, we can sell out. And it's because since 1987, they've been building that club. I was doing photo shoots with Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, and we were in the club shop. So people knew us because we were winning and we've always been respected. But like, if you look at Chelsea last weekend, they're in the semi-final of the Champions League against Barcelona. We can say it's a fantastic attendance, 25,000, which it is, but it's not really in reality because why are fans not coming? Like, it's a semi-final of the Champions League. Even Man United women at Lee Valley don't sell out. Manchester City, they play at the Academy Boys Stadium, they don't sell out. So it's like, why are they not selling out stadiums? And yeah, I just think there is still a lot of work to do with regards to attendances. That's my only thing. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with where the game's at.
Thank you very much to Lianne Sanderson for joining us on the show. And you can hear my full chat with her on this Sporting Planet's YouTube channel. So, Colette and Kate, the Champions League final, it is going to be extraordinary. More so for Arsenal than it is for Barcelona, because Arsenal are the holders, they're old hats at this. They know exactly what to do when it comes to the Champions League. But for Arsenal, it's been some time since they've competed in a European final. I think it's like 18 years. It's quite extraordinary, their story. And what's even more extraordinary about their story is that it all began in qualifying. And so they've played, I think, 14 Champions League matches to get to the final. No team has ever done that before in this format. And their season, when it comes to the Champions League, has been all about comebacks, because they had to come from behind in their final qualifier to get into the group stage. They lost their first group game to Bayern Munich, had to replace their manager. Rene Slagers then came in and just went on this fantastic run to win all 5 remaining group games. Then the quarterfinals, they had to come from behind to beat Real Madrid. Likewise, they had to do that in the semi-finals as well against Lyon, who have this huge pedigree as well when it comes to European football. So there's something perhaps written in the stars, it feels like, for Arsenal, perhaps, that they might well be able to get the job done against Barcelona. But it's a fantastic story.
Doesn't it make you nervous that they keep having to come from behind though? Like, I
Hmm.
mean, I feel like against Barcelona, the reigning champions, isn't that going to be a bit tricky?
Well, yeah, especially as you don't have a second leg to come back from,
Yeah.
or to come back in, I should say, because obviously the first leg against Real Madrid in the quarterfinals, they were 2-0 down, won the second leg 3-0. They were 2-1 down in the semi-final first leg and then went on to win that one 4-1. So yeah, there's no second chances for them. So they've got to get the job done, hopefully in 90 minutes, but it obviously can go beyond that as well. It was a very different story for Barcelona, who lost their first group game against Manchester City, but then went on to hammer Hammarby put 9 past them in their group game. I think they conceded 3 goals, scored 26 in their group stage as well. Breezed past Wolfsburg in the quarterfinals, 10-2 on aggregate. The problem is, I suppose, for Arsenal, is Barcelona know how to get the job done, and that's something that
Yeah.
a lot of those Arsenal players don't really know. They've never experienced before. But someone to mention who is key for Arsenal is Mariona Caldente, who actually played for Barcelona last year. So she was part of the Champions
Ah.
League winning team. So they're going to have to tap in to her experience, tap into her knowledge perhaps of that Barcelona team. She's got the experience, the nous, perhaps the gamesmanship, the game management that is needed maybe to win.
You forgot to mention the 2 key players as well in Arsenal, the Caitlin Ford and Steph Catleys of the world, and
Uh-huh.
Ford did score in that game, so
Yes, she did.
she's been a bit of a superstar, and certainly everyone back here is watching her, and as well as Steph Catley, the 2 Matildas. But we are also turning our attention down under to the semi-finals and finals of the AFC Women's Champions League, you guys. This is the very first year of the women's format of the Asian Champions League. And Melbourne City from Australia will play the Incheon Red Angels in Wuhan, while Wuhan Jiangda play Ho Chi Minh City. It's an interesting finals format, you guys, because everyone flies into Wuhan. I'll be commentating. This is why I know this. And you play your semi-finals 2 days before the finals. So it's a 2-leg bang bang, and you're there. You're going to play 2 very high quality football matches 2 days apart. So it's a lot of pressure on the players, and I'm fascinated to watch how it plays out. Certainly for Melbourne City, a massive opportunity. As you know, they've gone undefeated through the season here. They're playing semi-finals in the A-League this weekend, and everyone's got their money on them to get both the Premier's Plate and the Championship. So in terms of teams to send to your first Asian Women's Champions League, it is the best of the best. And on that topic, it's been high risk for ACL injuries. I don't know if you guys saw, but FIFA is going to be funding a study into the risk of ACL injuries in women, which I find fascinating. Sam Kerr obviously did her ACL just after I did
Mm.
mine, or just around about that time. But there's research that suggests female footballers are 2 to 6 times more likely to suffer the injury than their male counterparts.
That's really interesting because there's something in being said in Singapore. So we play a lot of the games in Singapore on artificial turf.
Yeah.
Natural grass is just a little bit too hard to maintain here. So a lot of the stadiums are now played on artificial turf. And very recently, a number of national team players, as well as club players, but it became amplified when the national team players started coming down with very similar injuries. And they were putting the blame down on the fact that they were playing too many games on artificial turf in Singapore. And I remember once there was a national team game where Singapore was participating in, and I think there were like 3 or 4 players who were out with exactly the same
Wow.
injury, and key players as well. So that is a problem, but it's interesting to hear that it is even more of a problem amongst women football players. That
Well,
was really
Colette, they're
interesting.
actually, yeah, they're going to look at the hormonal profile of women across the month, because there is some research that suggests the high estrogen around the time of ovulation during the cycle can
Yeah,
contribute to
makes
ligament
sense.
laxity and potentially a higher risk of ACL injury. So it's really fascinating. And obviously, I am a massive nerd about this, having just come back from an ACL rehab. But these rehabs, it is the hardest injury in sport. It keeps players out for a year. It's been 16 months for Sam Kerr, arguably one of the best female footballers in the world. So if we can reduce them somehow, I think there's a real incentive for FIFA to do that study.
Yeah, it's about time when you consider, as you say, the number of female players that are picking up ACL injuries. I mean, from an England perspective, Leah Williamson had to miss the World Cup, being Lioness captain, because of an ACL injury that she had suffered. And like you say, hormonal issues is one of the things I'll be looking at. I know there's something to do with hips as well. They're
Yep.
examining hips and whether that is an issue as well, because obviously women's hips are different to men's. The boot has often been, again, something that's been talked about. Maybe the structure of a boot for a woman has to be different to a man's. And I know that I think there is, was it Puma that came up with a boot specifically for women, but there aren't many brands that are actually specifically designing boots for women. And any kind of investigation, like as you say, by FIFA to look into this to help women is only going to be a massive bonus, certainly for our women footballers. And what I wanted to quickly ask you, Colette, as well, because obviously we know about the WSL, and goodness me, they not that long ago announced a new 3-year partnership with Barclays, which is going to bring £45 million into
Wow.
the women's football over here. And the WSL is just getting bigger and bigger. Kate, you've
Mm.
mentioned it, a number of players coming over here for coming to England, I should say, from Australia, from the US, for example. Chelsea have not that long ago broke the world record, in fact, as well. What's the state of football like in your area?
Well, here in Asia, I've got to say Japan seem to be doing things right. Their domestic league is called the WE League, and they have big sponsorship from the likes of Sonpo Group. Adidas and Yanmar are also big sponsors. There's a great tradition of women's football in Japan. We just have to look back at the 2011 World Cup when they beat the United States of America on penalties in the final to win the very first World Cup for Japan. And just recently, they also clinched the She Believes Cup. That's a little league tournament that was played between Colombia, Australia, the USA, and Japan. I'm just going to run through some rankings of Asian women's football teams for you here. Japan are currently 5th. North Korea are 9th in the world. Australia are 16th, followed by China in 17th and South Korea in 19th position. Vietnam are 37th, so that puts them as the best Southeast Asian team in the world. As for Singapore, my country, well, we're ranked 139.